Hey guys, what is up? AwesomeTheSauce here, and today we're gonna talk about the future of level 120 PvP, and very honestly, the future of PvP in general as you go higher and higher level. And this is something that is actually very few people have noticed, but it's becoming something that I can easily tell you it's a trend. It's a trend in how we're actually going about PvP in the future, and you guys are gonna see this. And it's something that KingsL is doing very deliberately. It's very obvious, and it seems like either it's their way of listening to us or their way of changing the game even more. So it's totally up to you how you want to view this. But before I start, I do have to say that this episode was inspired by an article I read on Duelist101, which is a Wizard101 fan site. It's a PvP fan site. I was actually gonna make this video a little before, but it definitely inspired me to make this. So shout out to them if if you're looking at like community-based PvP news or PvP strategies, they really have them. So, check them out if you have time. But that being said, guys, this is about why critical is becoming less and less useful. You heard right. Critical is becoming less and less useful. Now, there are a lot of reasons why you might support this. Now, we can date back right to when the critical update actually happened. This is when crits went from times 2 to times 1.5. So obviously, what does that mean? That means that critical damage does, it does way less. So critical in itself is less important of a stat. But we already knew that. That happened over the summer. It completely changed PvP. And it basically shifted the meta completely away from people who were just spamming. Absolutely spamming critical, and it made critical just harder to do in general too for hits, because so many more people realize that crit isn't as much of a good stat to have. So the reason why we're talking about crit right now is mainly because of the new wands. Now these new wands are very special. Why? Because they're supposed to be top-notch wands, and the one thing you'll notice is that crit is greatly reduced. And instead, you're given a ton of damage, pip conversion, and a lot less critical. This is definitely the future of where PvP is heading in general. This wand right here is something that I plan on using on a lot of my characters. I don't need crit, and I don't really want block that much. I can do without block, and unless it's a school where I'm healing, crit is barely necessary. Crit is just not necessary. It looks like they're trying to replace both block and critical with pip conversion. This is something that I've seen here and also on a lot of things. And we'll visit other pieces of gear, but I think this is where the future is going to go. Now, you might be wondering exactly why am I making this conclusion? Well, the gear changes are one big thing, but the root of it really comes from critical decay. That's what it's called. Critical decay just means that the same amount of critical every single time you level up will mean less and less. Now, I'm about to show you guys an easy example of this. Here I have a level 110. It's a sorcerer, balance wizard, doesn't really matter what school, but I have 499 critical. That 499 critical is 48% critical. That means about half of the time I critical. Actually, a little less than half of the time. Now, when I switch from my balance over to my fire, who's level 115. Mind you, this isn't even level 120. This is level 115. I have how much crit? Let's see, 500 crit, 44%. Now this isn't big news if you aren't new. If you aren't new to this isn't really big news. You would have known that critical is definitely something that as you level up, it becomes less and less useful. A grandmaster will get a lot more block from 100 block than, let's say, a prodigious wizard would get from 100 blocks. So that's normal. That's something we expect. However, the gear doesn't accommodate for that. That's a huge problem here. Like, for example, let's look at some of the decks that I've gotten from... Oh, actually, I think I got rid of them. That sucks. Well, I did have some decks, but basically, the underlying thing that happens with all these decks that are, emerging is that critical is being replaced primarily by pip conversion. Let's see if I have any in my bank. Maybe I do. I don't know. I kind of done goofed because I guess I got rid of them. They're so useless to me. But basically, it looks like everything is getting replaced. Let's see. Maybe I have some. Oh, there you go. So, this isn't the best example, but it's because block is getting replaced, which is very interesting. But if you guys notice, block is getting replaced, and critical is also becoming smaller in many cases, especially on the wands. So they're trying to push pip conversion as something that you have instead of critical and block. And pip conversion is actually, it could really change the game. At the moment, pip conversion doesn't really do much. You know, any sort of pip conversion will be a really small percent. Now let's actually, I'll show you guys what I mean by this. We are going to, actually I don't think I can equip it, but I wish I could show you the percents, but it is extremely low. I wish I could, but my death is not that level yet, so I guess we're out of luck on that one. But you could take my word for it. The starting pip conversion stats are extremely small, so you're going to need a lot of it for it to be a reliable part of the strategy. It's almost as small as shadow pip percentages. That's how small it is. So that being said, we're seeing critical being replaced by stats like pip conversion, as you saw by those legendary weapons. You're actually seeing gear that gives you a super big incentive. It gives you a huge incentive to actually go for pip conversion over critical and critical block. So that being said, you gotta tell me, you know, in the comments below, what do you plan on doing? You know, I've seen many top PvPers switch over to the new wands, and let me just show you why, right? We're talking about someone, right? Let's say you're a fire, for example. You don't want fire wand hit, so you'll actually be using this wand right here, most probably, right? So you have 6 damage, you have 118 block, 3 pierce. Now compare that to this one right here. There is no comparison as to which one's better. You have 14 more damage, and you have 5 more pierce. This is definitely something that you should be using no matter what. This is the best piece of gear that you could possibly want at that level. Yeah, sure, you're giving up block, but who cares about block? It doesn't matter as much as long as you actually put up proper defenses. And the damage that you get in return, it's absolutely crazy. 14 more damage is an absolute game changer. I see storms and fires just going all out damage. This is like a huge game changer, and it's just something that a lot of people need to get on board, you know, for. And basically what KingsIsle is trying to do, they've heard what we've said. They've heard that we do not like critical. This is something that a lot of people say. Critical breaks the game, critical is broken. This is why they made that first step towards making critical 1.25 instead of 2 times multiplier. But there are still huge problems with it. Now, after showing you that, I do have to say one thing, and this is something that actually troubles me a lot. It's the fact that even though a critical only does 1.25 now, a heal still does twice. So that means a critical heal will be hugely disproportionately in favor of the person healing over a critical hit for the person who's hitting. Now, the more offensive schools already have a lot of trouble in PvP. For example, in the elemental schools, the most offensive school is Storm, and in the Spirit schools, the most offensive school is Myth. Both of those are absolutely trash at 1v1 at the moment, especially because of the Shadow Pip spells. It's heavily in favor of other schools. Not to mention Death, which is also one of the hugely offensive schools in the Spirit Triad. It's not as good. So the problem is, when you have super offensive schools trying to use crit, let's say, the problem is the super defensive schools can just heal off. Like Balance and Life, the reason they're so good is because they can heal off. And if they heal off and their multipliers 2 times, then a hit doing 1.2 times, there's no comparison as far as crit. So the problem is crit is still completely unbalanced, in my opinion, and maybe KingsIsle is trying to still move away from it. It's an imperfect fix. The reason, and this is a huge reason why they did it, this is because the PvE players do not want to see crit getting taken away, but they still kept the 2 times multiplier in PvE. I don't see why they cannot keep the 2 times multiplier in both. That's my 2 cents on that part of critical, but you should know that as the gear progresses, the same amount of crit will not give you the same percentage of crit. So the same rating doesn't translate to the same percentage, and in this game, percentages are everything. So keep that in mind, guys. 427 block might be 63% at 110, that level 110, but it most certainly will not be that. It'll be about 5% lower, if not more, at 120. So keep that in mind as you guys keep your strategies rolling. If you do want to have truly crit-based strategies, and make sure that your school that can actually benefit from the crit, and make sure that you're not giving up stats like pip conversion. Like it comes with certain benefits, especially these new wands. I am going to make a new strategy based on this wand for my fire, who's currently level 115 as you saw. And I truly think that these wands are going to change the game because they're just getting rid of crit and block, which are becoming increasingly less useful, and trading them in for pip conversion. I think there's a pattern that's going to emerge for all of our future spells and gears, everything. Critical won't be as useful, and instead it's going to be traded for pip conversion. Am I right in that analysis? Totally up to you guys to tell me. This is what I've observed. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I just thought the whole idea of critical decay, the fact that critical is dying, all of that is very interesting to me, because it can go two ways. I'm sure a lot of people will look at it and say, you know what, KingsIsle's taking away a part of the game. It's very, very annoying for some people. And if you really do crit a lot, it'll be at the expense of a lot of other statistics that other people have in favor of them. And it adds a lot of gear diversity, spell diversity. I personally support that idea. However, other people are going to look at it and say that they love crit. Crit is a reason they actually ranked up more easily. And crit is a mechanic that's been around for a long time, and people should have adapted to it by now. That's a matter of opinion. Tell me your comments in the space below, guys. I really want to hear, what do you think of crit? Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please tell me if you want more PvP based videos like this. I did this video because a lot of you guys like the whole how will level 120 PvP get affected by the 4-pip shadow spells. Like, you guys really seem to love that video, so I thought I'd make another one. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for all the love and support. Merry Christmas! Even though it's not Christmas, happy holidays. Spread that holiday cheer, guys. And as always, if someone hasn't told you you're awesome today, they're doing something wrong. So stay awesome, bruh. Yeah, yeah.